Hello everyone, this is James Shore with another test-driven JavaScript video. I'm recording this on March 13th, 2013. We're picking up right where we left off in the last episode, and what we're working on here is abstraction, and it is really coming along nicely. In the last episode, we moved the last of our duplicated event handling code out of client, and now we have this lovely, lovely system here where you can really look at and see what's happening on mouse down, on mouse move, on mouse leave, and what exactly happens for each of those. The code is nice and small. It's really focused on just what the client cares about, and all the ugly details of event handling, or almost all of them, are factored into DOM element. Now, what we did in DOM element, I think, is really cool, and I didn't explain it in detail last time. I'm going to get to that in just a moment, but as I was looking at this code during the break, it occurred to me that this would read better if it was if it talked about one touch separately from multi-touch. So now we can see this is about mouse movement, this is about what happens when there's one touch, and then the degenerate case, when there's a multi-touch, we just end the drag. And I think that's even better than it was before. Okay, let's look at DOM element. So I did not spend a lot of time on this in the last episode because I was really eager to get through the refactoring. But let me show you what's going on here. On our mouse down, we ask jQuery to register a mouse down handler, and then we pass in this mouse handler event handler function that passes in a reference to the DOM element object and then our callback. So what is this mouse event handler function? If you're from a language like Java, you probably haven't seen this very often, but it's a really cool aspect of JavaScript and other languages that use functions as a first-class citizen. Basically, we can write a function that creates functions, and that gives us some really powerful abstraction abilities that are harder to get in other languages. Since the way we handle on mouse down, all of our mouse movement has basically the same handler. We look up the relative offset, and then we run the callback. Because that's all the same, we wanted to factor into a function, but the event handler has to take a function itself. It can't take a function call, it has to take a function. So we return a function that does what we want. It's a little bit of a brain bender, but it's very, very powerful. And for us, the easiest way to do this was to just take that function expression and to refactor it using the built-in WebStorm tools. And we did the same thing for one-touch event handler, and we didn't do it for multi-touch event handlers because we don't have more than one. Now that we've got this, though, we've got on one touch end, let's go ahead and use the exact same function there, just so everything's nice and clean. And what this means is that we can really expect that each of the categories of event handlers will behave in the same way. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and check in this change. And in fact, let's go ahead and rename all of these to be single touch rather than multi-touch. Or single touch rather than one touch, because that goes better with multi-touch. Make sure everything still works. Again, notice how having all these tests allows me to be really aggressive in some of these refactorings. Okay, that is pretty clean. Let's go ahead and group these guys together. Put them down at the bottom. By the way, this approach where I've got private functions or private methods as just regular functions in a closure, taking the self callback, that's my preferred approach to doing private methods in JavaScript. There are a lot of different ways. People will often put it on the prototype with an underscore, but I prefer to do it this way. It's just a matter of preference. The nice thing about this is there's no way for anybody to get to the private method, and but it is still only defined once. It's not duplicated in every instance of the variable. It's still just in the system once. Anyway, I think client is done. I think this is really, really clean. This default stuff is not as perfect as I would like it to be, but everything else is looking really good. Let's just take another look. Let's clean that up a bit. Yeah, this is solid. I'm happy with this. Let's look at client test now. We still have, so we're doing all the event handlers, and that's great, but we still have all this duplicated code about sending mouse events, and I want to take care of that. That is complicated by this optional element thing, because DOM element is really about being about one DOM element, but I'm wondering, do we even need this optional element anymore? Let's see who uses it. So just skimming through, we're using it here when the mouse stops leaving the drawing area, but we could say document.mouseMove if we wanted to. We wouldn't have to, it doesn't have to operate on the DOM element. Yeah, and same for this one. Yeah, I think that would be okay. Let's go and move that over. Let's see if we can get the mouse. Let's see if we can get mouse up over, because that one is never using the optional jQuery element. Yeah, let's try that. So I'm going to pull these two pieces over. I'm just going to do mouse up. And that is just going to be that. Don't need the optional element. So the jQuery element is going to be this dot element. And that's going to be actually, that is the jQuery element. And that's just going to be this. That should work because I'm not using it yet. Oh, except, right. It's saying possible strict violation because we're passing, because there is no this. This is a function. I need to pass self through. Good. Okay, that JS hint really helped us on that one. That would have been confusing. Now, that was mouse up we just did. So in here, in client test, we should be able to say mouse up is going to be drawing area, or actually I think we call it DOM element. DOM element dot mouse up relative x relative y. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that will work. Ah, excellent. Okay, let's get that in there. All right, now we can do the same thing. Now, yeah, let's see. Now we can do the same thing for mouse leave. Oops. Well, that's all right. I'll just amend it. There's a way to roll back a commit, but I always have to look it up. So I'm just going to ignore that. Pretend it didn't happen. So I'm hoping this will work. And does it? Yes, good. So we don't need that. And we don't need that. Good. Now let's do mouse move. Mouse move is going to be pretty much the same. This one's a bit trickier though, because now this is the first one that is actually, there's a case where we have the optional element to deal with. But just doing that should be easy. Yes. Now here, if we have the optional element, we'll use the existing send mouse event. Otherwise, we'll use DOM element dot mouse move. I'm hoping that will work. It does. Good. Now I think we should be able to say, if there's the optional element, let's make a new WeWikiPaint DOM element using that optional element, and then just say foo.mouseMove. I'm hoping that will work. No, that doesn't work. All right, why not? Let's look at all of our mouse moves. Well, there's only the one. Here, it's the document. So that should work. I think it's because it's document, which doesn't have, I don't think page offset works on document. Yeah, there is no offset for the document. Let's make that document.body and see if that works. Yeah, that works. Okay, and that's good enough. That still basically tests the same thing. So good. That's getting close. We're running out of time. I might go a little bit over, but I want to get this all in here. Let's go ahead and pull this out. Well, actually, yeah, I think that's a good place to stop because we're already getting close to the end of our time, or actually a bit over if I don't edit it out. Yeah, let's go ahead and stop here. So next time, what we're going to pick up with is we finished eliminating the event handler duplication in client.js, and we've refactored the relative offset lookup. Now we're taking over more functions. We finished doing it from client.js, but now we're doing it in client-test.js. And specifically what we need to do is we need to finish moving event creation functions into client-test.js. And once we do that, we'll be pretty close to done with this chapter. So thanks for watching, everybody. I will catch you next time.